Okay, picture this. You've polished your resume, it looks great, perfect experience, and then you see that little optional box, add a photo.
Hmm.
Maybe you think, yeah, why not? Help me stand out.
Right. Seems harmless enough.
But what if ticking that box, especially if you're seen as an attractive woman, could actually, well, torpedo your chances of even getting an interview?
That is exactly the pretty startling conclusion from this big field experiment in Israel. Researchers Bradley Ruffel and Zeev Studner dug into how physical attractiveness really plays out in hiring.
And it really cuts against what most people probably assume, doesn't it? That being attractive is always an advantage.
Totally. It suggests there might be some hidden discrimination happening specifically against attractive women.
And they didn't just theorize, they actually ran a massive experiment in the real world.
Oh, yeah. This was hands-on. They sent out, get this, over 5,300 fake CVs, but sent them to like 2,656 real job openings.
So these were actual companies looking to hire people.
Exactly. And the clever bit was how they did it. For every job ad, they sent 2 CVs, basically identical, same skills, same experience, everything.
Okay.
But one CV had a photo and the other didn't. And the photos they used were pre-rated as either, attractive or plain looking for both men and women.
So they could isolate the effect of just having a picture. And whether that picture was of someone attractive or plain, really neat setup.
It really was super systematic, and the results, well, they were starkly different for men and women.
Okay, let's start with the men, because I think that finding might be less surprising.
Right. For men, it was pretty much what you might guess, a clear beauty premium. Attractive guys got callbacks almost 20% of the time, 19.7% to be precise.
Wow.
Compare that to guys with no picture, who got 13.7%, and the plain-looking guys, only 9.2%.
So being attractive meant a much better chance of getting a call.
Definitely. An attractive man needed to send maybe 5 CVs for a callback. A plain man, more like 11. That's a big difference.
Okay, so that fits the sort of common wisdom, beauty helps men. But then we get to the women.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the results just flipped, completely reversed.
Reversed how?
The highest callback rate for women, 16.6%, went to those who sent no picture at all.
Wait, no picture did best.
Yep. Then came the plain-looking women at 13.6%. And who came last?
Let me guess. The attractive women.
Exactly. They had the lowest callback rate, just 12.8%.
So attractive women weren't just missing out on a beauty premium like the men got. They were actually penalized, doing worse than if they'd sent no photo.
That's right. No picture women got callbacks 30% more often than attractive women. It's a huge gap, and it raises this big question. Why? Why would attractive women face this kind of penalty?
And because they sent those paired CVs, identical except for the photo, they knew it wasn't about the women applying for the wrong jobs or something.
Precisely. The discrimination was happening for the exact same roles, so they looked deeper, and a key factor seemed to be who was doing the initial screening.
Oh, you mean whether it was an external employment agency or the company itself?
Exactly. When agencies handled it, the penalty against attractive women was, well, pretty small, almost vanished.
Okay.
But when companies did their own hiring, screened CVs internally, that's when it hit hard. Attractive women got called back almost half as often as plain or no picture women.
Half. That's
Yeah.
dramatic. So what did the researchers think was going on inside those companies?
They pointed towards female jealousy and envy as a likely driver. The idea is if the person sorting the CVs inside the company is a woman, she might maybe unconsciously screen out an attractive female applicant. Feeling threatened, perhaps?
Uncomfortable. But it
Yeah.
would explain why it happened more in direct hiring, maybe, where existing employees are involved.
That's the hypothesis. An external agency might not have those same internal dynamics at play. They also talked about agencies maybe being more photosensitive overall. Maybe that's why attractive men did so well via agencies.
Right, so agencies look at photos more, helping attractive men, while companies look less, except for this specific negative bias against attractive women.
That seems to be the picture, yeah. And interestingly, they did a quick survey, too, which found people in Israel generally thought women included photos on CVs more often than men did anyway.
Okay, so that study paints a really complex picture for hiring. Helpful for men, potentially harmful for attractive women, maybe due to social factors like envy. But now, let's switch gears. There's other research that seems to suggest something, well, almost the opposite about beauty.
Right. This brings us to a paper by Satoshi Kanazawa and Jody L. Kovar. And they made a pretty provocative claim published in the journal Intelligence, no less.
Okay, I'm braced. What was it?
They argued that the common stereotype that beautiful people are also more intelligent might actually be accurate.
Whoa, hold on. So the first study suggests attractive women get penalized, maybe seen as less suitable despite qualifications. But this one says beauty and intelligence might actually go together. How does that work?
It feels like a total contradiction, I know, but they're looking at it from a completely different angle. Kanazawa and Kovar weren't looking at hiring bias. They were using evolutionary logic to propose a potential link between beauty and intelligence at a population level.
Evolutionary logic, like a theorem.
Kind of, yeah.
Hmm.
They based it on 4 assumptions, things they argued have empirical support. 1, smarter men tend to get higher status, think higher IQs and more prestigious jobs.
Okay, makes sense.
2, higher status men tend to pair up with more beautiful women. That's pretty well documented in mate preference studies.
Right.
3, intelligence is heritable, passed down genetically, at least partly. Lots of evidence for that.
Yeah.
And 4, beauty is also heritable. Again, twin studies suggest this.
Okay, so intelligent men get status, marry beautiful women, and they pass both traits to their kids. Is that the idea?
Pretty much. If those 4 things are true, they argue, then over generations you'd naturally end up with a correlation. Not because beauty makes you smart, but because the traits get bundled together through mate selection, an extrinsic link.
So it's a side effect of how people have paired up over time.
Exactly. And they do point to some studies, meta-analyses actually, that find a small but statistically significant positive correlation between measured beauty and measured intelligence.
Small, you say.
Yeah, like a Dord value of 0.07. So it's not a huge effect, but it's there in the data, apparently. They also mention the idea from evolutionary psychology that things we find beautiful, like facial symmetry, might be subtle cues of underlying genetic health.
Okay, so let's try and connect these dots. Study 1. Attractive women penalized in hiring, possibly due to bias like jealousy. Study 2. A theory with some data suggesting beauty and intelligence might be slightly correlated overall. How do we reconcile this?
I think the key is realizing they're operating at different levels. The hiring study is about social perception and bias in a very specific modern situation getting a job. It shows how immediate factors, like how a person in HR reacts to a photo, can totally override any underlying subtle population-level correlation.
So the hiring penalty isn't because the attractive women are actually less capable.
Not at all.
Okay.
In fact, remember, in the
It really does. It makes you wonder if these social dynamics can lead companies to potentially screen out attractive candidates who, according to the other research, might even have a slight edge intelligence-wise on average. What talent is being left on the table?
Yeah.
What brilliant people might companies be missing out on just because of a bias triggered by something as simple as a photograph on a CV?